So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Conquer the Clutter podcast. It is great to see so many familiar faces and see your smiling faces despite the weather wherever you are or the lack of it. Today we're going to do a tiny little recap of something that we talked about last week. And the reason I want to just highlight this, do a whistle stop through and highlight this, is this time rather than hear it for probably the first time, I'd like you to reflect and look inside yourselves and ask, is this what I do to myself at any level? And if there's any resonance there that yes, this is sounding familiar, ask yourself, why do I keep doing it? Because that is a key that we need to find in order to change the lock. All right. The important question really is, because we all do things that are counterproductive at some point in some way. The important question we fundamentally need to get to is, how long do we want to keep doing it? All right. So how long have you done it? That's going to indicate to you possibly how much of one of these behaviors or choices you have habituated, so that has it become your default response, your go-to place, rather than it being something that is easier to observe before you're in it up to your hip waders. All right? Okay. So if you don't want to keep doing it and it really isn't working well for you, see if you can find yourself in any of the further statements that are part of the strategies to deal with, and see if you can close that gap so that even if it's a tendency, you don't go there and stay there. All right, because we're talking about procrastination, and we're talking about all of the underpinnings that are really very unique to each one of us, and they're complex. We didn't just start this because we didn't have a better solution. All right. So I want you to be get a paper, get a pen. I want you to be making notes. They're going to cause you this next week to have a discussion with yourself. All right. All right. So you should, when you're dealing with procrastination, you are working from a principle that what you do, you yourself, and what you do only counts if it's beyond criticism. Can you see the trap? All right. Now, if you're used to doing that, you may think to yourself, is there any other way? Of course, I wouldn't want to engage in something and choose an option where I could be criticized. The problem is that then leads you to aim for and aspire to being perfect. Then it's no longer good enough just to work hard. And if you can't get yourself to a point where you can conceive of, you know what, that's how I think it should be done optimally, wouldn't it be great if most of the time I was somewhere in that ballpark? But I am just going to commit myself to working hard in the best way I can see in the moment with the reserves I have in the tank. Why do I say that? I say that because, for the millionth time, if you create a drudge, you do a bang-up job, but at the end of it, you're not satisfied if you haven't gone full out, and when you reflect on when you did it, and you got those great results, it was a drudge. It was like, whoa. All right. No time that you don't already have that much steam in the tank are you going to want to do it again. And it really really, truly is. The little bit you do consistently, regularly, on your best day, on your worst day, you can still manage a good little piece of it. And you can risk failure. All right? You can risk end up somebody finding fault or judging the quality of what you've done or accomplished. Sorry. Does it surprise you that if your beliefs say that nothing short of that will do, does it surprise you that it would be safer, consciously or unconsciously, to procrastinate? Does that sound surprising to you? I hope not, because that is the option you're giving yourself. Sorry guys, I just have to adjust something here. It wants to go up and I don't want it to go up. All right, there we go. All right, so, all right. Oh, I'm doomed. Just give me a sec here. Braden, you're gonna have to delete that. All right, there we go. All right, so you're going to have to, so then what happens is when you get yourself in that mindset, is there any circumstance, have you ever been in that mindset? Is there any circumstance where you feel, you know, to take a risk, I better just to do it the way I know I can pull it off. I'm not happy with it, but I can't risk giving myself a trial run, a little experiment. What would it be like if I actually did 15 minutes a day and I limited it to 15 minutes a day and I set a timer with 15 minutes a day, and whether I'm on a roll or not, I stop because I want to habituate the little bit on an ongoing regular basis to get to where I want to be. If I can't try little experiments with myself to see if I can self-regulate and habituate good habits, success can feel dangerous. Why? Because when you always aspire for ideal or the way it should be, and nothing short of that is good enough, no matter what, after you do that, shouldn't you be able to do better? More, you start to expect more and more of yourself. You should go further, you should go longer, you should be more precise. There's that should. So that perfectionistic, ideal standard, doing it as it should be done. If it's worth doing right. But it's a very narrow definition of right. That has a sneaky way of making you expect more and better, very, very subtly. It's kind of like an embedded message, and that is going to undermine you, all right? So sooner or later, at some point, human nature, you just won't be able to keep up, all right? When you can't keep up, you now have a very clearly developed belief, a very clearly developed standard for yourself that you measure yourself against. And on those days, and they will come randomly. All right, we cannot control. We can influence what happens, but we can't control it. Sooner or later, you're not going to be at your best. And then you're going to feel like a failure. All right? Either you're going to feel like a failure yourself because you're not meeting those standards, or somebody who gives cheap advice, all right, and is judgmental, will judge and assess how you're doing. Any way you look at it, you're setting up a dynamic where sooner or later that feeling of failure and inadequacy, you didn't make the mark, is inevitable. We want and need to avoid that. We need to be, as much as possible, on our A game, understanding that every day cannot be an A game day. Every situation that we get ourselves into cannot be an A game day. And even when you're not capable, you don't feel like doing it, you don't want to do it, you want to go to Netflix, you want to do something else, you want to distract, all right? You want to give yourself a reason just not to do it. It really, truly is the little bit you do consistently, regularly, the better part of every day. Maybe not every single day, but pretty much every day. All right. That will help you self-regulate, help you habituate the very work ethic and beliefs and values that will work for you, not against you. They don't have an invisible cliff at the end of them. All right. So then, how many people here find it difficult not to be in control? Anybody? Let's have a little look at what it costs us to be cooperative. All right. More hands on deck, so long as we don't go into a fear of being controlled mode or a resistance mode, or we can't allow others to express an opinion or an idea and stay safe. Okay, you're grown people here, you're adults. You don't have to do anything. If people have an idea, they make a suggestion, even if they make it sound like this is obviously the way to do it, the correct way to do it, you can go to a neutral space and say, well, I'll consider that. What are the pros? What are the cons? Because there are always going to be pros and cons. Learn to just set your ego aside. No one can force you to do anything. You are a competent adult, right? It's okay to learn how to be cooperative and not feel infringed on, all right? Some of us are competitive, all right? But it's a really good idea to get a hold on that and not let that be the first horse out of the gate. Because when we can get to being competitive, it helps us to complete the demands on us, the expectations we have and others have, and it also helps us to rethink maybe the rigid rules that we have for ourselves and other people sometimes, and be able to be part of a collective, all right? That cooperating, however, the downside of cooperating is that it's nigh on impossible to do that if you can't compromise with other people and share the way things should be done. And so when you don't develop that safe place to go to where you don't feel threatened, no matter how hard somebody's pushing, you remind yourself, I am a competent, self-reliant adult. Yes, I have clutter. I could have worse things in my life. All right, it's something I'm not proud of. It's something I want to overcome, but I could be doing worse. All right, so all ideas are welcome, and I will decide what works for me or this project and what doesn't. I don't have to defend myself. I don't have to justify myself. I don't have to compete. So when you find yourself even internally, going to a place where your ego is just taken over, like a little bit like a runaway horse. And inside, even if you're not saying it, your mindset is to compete for who's right, what the correct answer is, what would be better. All right, just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and remind yourself, you don't have to do anything, but maybe some part of what somebody else, even if it comes in the form of criticism or expectations, maybe some part of what that person offers or says, you still don't have to do, but you're always better to expand your horizons and your baseline choices, your options, by at least listening and maybe taking a piece of it and changing it in a way that it can work for you. So ask yourself, rather than resist and go into ego mode, ask yourself, is there any part of this in some way that I could work to work better for me? Is there something this person is offering me? No matter what form they're offering it in, put yourself on pause. There we are again. Put yourself on pause and ask, is there any way that or a piece of that could actually work better than something I more normally do? All right. And then take a step back and reflect on, okay, how could I make that work? To either lessen the negative consequences that I will pay or to enhance the progress that I want to make. Okay, so you keep reminding yourself you are a competent, independent adult, all right? But it's okay to consider and cooperate with other people's methods, their ideas. Try it. What's the worst that can happen? It might work better. It might not work better. Or you may learn something more that you can add to your inventory. All right? And always maintain that independent sense of personal control. Right? When you find yourself being threatened in any way, put yourself on pause for a second and ask yourself, is there a voice on the committee in my head that gave me that message before, and that's why I can't even listen to it right now? I can't even listen to it as an independent, self-reliant, self-respecting adult. I can't listen to that and consider. The reason I think that's so important when that happens to us, and it happens to all of us, all right? But put yourself on pause for a second and ask yourself, who's in control here? Because if I react and resist, that voice from eons ago is still in control. No, I am a self-respecting, independent adult, all right? Self-reliant. I am. And I will judge. I will try something, and if I fail, I will learn from it. I won't judge myself. Okay. Cooperating, however, can be risky in other ways. Does this ever happen to you? One of the things about cooperating, okay, being part of a team, even a two-person team, is in some way you're going to have to lay out your ideas. All right? You're going to have to lay out the plan you have. And that plan will be judged. It will be assessed. Some people will agree with you. Some people won't agree with you. They might not even like you. They might disapprove of you. How does that change your life? Ask yourself that. Even if somebody disapproves of you, even if they don't like you. One of my favorite expressions, I don't use it all the time, but it is a backup. And that is, there are people that it actually is a compliment to be disliked by. All right. And sometimes those people are part of the team, and that's okay. All right. You approve of yourself. You don't have to be right. You don't have to have the best, most successful idea leading to the best outcome. You don't have to be worthy and to be treated with respect. You remember that, all right? Even when you're dead wrong, you're still worthy, you still matter, and you still deserve being treated with courtesy and respect. So, you're on this team. You're considering cooperating. How many hands up here? How many people find that they still want to keep their ideas in the background, protected against other people's opinions or approval? Is that because there are voices on the committee, or you have had experiences where you were judged, you were overwhelmed, you were outvoted, and you carry with you those feelings? All right. Let's do a little work on that at some point in a podcast, because today is different. Even though that has happened in the past, the truth is today is today. All right? You've learned from that. You've gained experience. Hopefully, in learning that experience, you're a little humbler. That does not mean, being humble does not mean that you feel defeated. It just means that you give yourself permission not to have all of the ideas all of the time and all of the answers all of the time. And even if you don't like somebody else's method or their answers, you don't have to have a better one to put yourself on pause and consider. You are always entitled to the time to consider, the time and space to get things straight in your own mind before you feel comfortable moving forward. All you have to say is, I'm just not comfortable yet moving forward on that plan or that idea. Why don't we do a little test run just to see how well it would work? Not saying you're wrong, all right? But that just doesn't quite mesh with the way I see things. That's okay. This is not a competition. This is a team. Okay, so if you do have that lack of setting boundaries and limits to protect yourself, having the confidence, just enough confidence, not more confidence than you need, just enough confidence to say, I'm not sure about that. I need to consider that further before I make a decision. Just even buy yourself space and time that way. If you can't do that, put your hands up or put thumbs up if you're having difficulty with that. All right? Because that is a really, really important thing to be able to do, to accept yourself as imperfect and not ready to make a step, to take that step, to make a decision until you've had time to consider. All right? Kind of sometimes just let it percolate down and make your choices for you as part of that team. The reason I'm belaboring this is because it's always easier. Clearing up that clutter is always easier if you're not alone. And so not being alone means that there's a team, there's a couple, there's somebody else, at least one other person, right? And so you need to kind of be able to feel safe and protected from being overwhelmed, overpowered, somebody taking over, and now you become like the child taking instructions, because after all, aren't you inadequate and imperfect because you're the one with the clutter? Is that the way it feels? Okay, I see a lot of nods there. All right. We really have to work on that. There's the person who's giving advice isn't any more perfect or imperfect than you are. It's just their idea. And they may be offering it in a way to help. It's okay if it's not helping, all right? Rather than procrastinate, rather than to go into that mindset, into that mind state, and save yourself from being afraid by hiding in procrastination, delaying, deflecting, all right? Not showing up for yourself. Rather than do that, just say, I'm not sure. Tell me more. All right? Tell me more about that idea, but I'm not committing to it. It's okay. You're allowed to be imperfect, and you are still allowed to be in charge of your own life. You are not defective. You are not inadequate. You have clutter. All right? Okay. How many people here feel that fundamentally underneath they have real trouble with disorganization? How many people here feel that? Can you put thumbs up just so that I can have an idea? Is that something you've struggled with, is staying organized? Because there is such a thing as perfectly organized hoarding, you know. All right, there is. It's about the volume. It isn't necessarily about about how neat and tidy it is. I know some people who have extreme hoarding situations, all right, and they are as neat and tidy as pin. It's about the fuel load. It's about the excess. Okay. How many people here feel just quietly, okay, they don't ever say it, they might have a hard time admitting it to others or sometimes even to themselves, just feel at a basic level that there's something unacceptable about themselves? Thumbs up. Okay. What do you think that unacceptableness is about? Is it about the clutter? Because you're not the clutter. The clutter can be manageable. It can be. We'll get there. Okay. You are separate and apart from the clutter. So how did you become unacceptable? How did that happen? Thoughts? If anybody has any thought, I want you to think about that this week. That's a basic question. I really want you to journal, talk to yourself out loud, do whatever you need to process that. So you've got clutter to whatever degree, all right? How did and you feel unacceptable? Is it because of the clutter? Or do you think that you felt unacceptable before and the clutter is just an add-on? It's just a way that it's not the clutter that makes you unacceptable, it's that you're unacceptable. And the clutter is proof of it. So you want evidence? Here it is. Can't stay ahead of the clutter. Must mean that I'm unacceptable. No, it doesn't. It means that you've got clutter. It means that something's breaking down in the process of resolving that. That's all that means. What we need to find what those component parts are. All right? And then we need to be doing some work on the component parts. Will you ever be perfect? Do you think you're going to be perfect when this process is resolved? Heavens no, no one would like you. No one likes perfect people. All right? You will be as fallible and as imperfect as you are right now. It's just you won't have clutter. It won't be playing its way out in ways that make you ashamed. It won't be playing out ways and make you unsafe. All right? Okay. Now, how many people find that this is true? So that you can understand fundamentally feeling imperfect, like there's something wrong with you, it would be better to hide your flaws from others and yourself. How many people feel that it's better, even though you feel that you're flawed? You have flaws. I have flaws. How many people feel that your best choice is not just to accept your flaws, try to minimize the impact, all right, that they cause for you. It's not like we want to go through careening through life with our flaws exposed, creating chaos and hazard for ourselves. Okay, I'm not suggesting that. I'm just sometimes the humility to accept, you know what, I'm not perfect. I'm never going to be perfect. I'd like to be a little better at this, however, because I don't want to pay the consequence of that. Plain and simply, I don't want to pay the consequence of that flaw of mine, that imperfection of mine, getting out of control. I want to get a handle on it a good deal of the time. All right? Because when others at very vulnerable developmental periods of our life have criticized us, it's like we absorb that. All right, we look to those people for affirmation of who we are, what we're worth, how much we matter, how much we have a right to have our needs met, most of them, a good deal of the time, how okay or not okay it is to hurt us. And then when we don't get affirmed as you're being disobedient, you're causing problems right now with your behavior, others are paying the consequence for that. I'm talking about speaking to a child, all right? When you don't get that affirmed so that you get guidance, you don't get punishment, you get guidance. So out of the end of that discussion or that interaction with these powerful others when we're little, if we don't come out of that with a clear idea of what the goal looks like, what do I have to do not to be this disobedient, blah, 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 blah child? What did I do wrong? What do I have to do the next time? If I just come out of that repeatedly, feeling punished, feeling shamed, feeling afraid, uncertain, unimportant, not valued, rejected, if that was the effect that a parent or a powerful other, it doesn't have to be a parent, had on us, is their voice on the committee? Is their voice on the committee? And are we still doing that? All right? Because at a certain point, when we don't challenge those messages that make us feel unworthy, unimportant, we don't have, it's selfish to have rights or to have needs and to expect those needs a good deal of the time to be met reasonably, all right? What can happen is that we voice over that. It's no longer the voice of the punishing parent or teacher or grandparent or significant other. It's no longer their voice. Now we hear it in our voice. Does that happen for anybody in this group? That they voiced over all of those messages? Okay, good number of people. A good number of people. Okay. Even though self-criticism is difficult to live with, and it doesn't leave you feeling good, all right? Procrastination can feel like a haven because it might be easier to procrastinate, to avoid, to distract, to something else, rather than facing the vulnerability of exposing those flaws, those ways that we got punished, we got corrected, we got shamed, we got exposed, all right, invalidated to ourselves and to others. Right? This week, I would like to give you a little bit of homework, all right? This is my third homework piece. Okay, so at the top of something, write down my truth. 2 columns. My strengths, my flaws. I'm going to say flaws, okay, rather than vulnerabilities this time, because I know if I use the word flaws, even though I don't like it, I know you're going to get a whole lot more come to mind, because I know people struggle with, when I use the word vulnerabilities, they think, well, I don't have a broken leg. Well, no, a vulnerability is just something that you're susceptible to, okay? Flaws. I want you to make a list, and then I want you, right beside whatever the word is or the example is, I want you a very brief, what is the evidence of that? All right, how do you know that that is part of your truth? And then maybe we can have a look at that. You could send those to me by email confidentially, and then without raising anybody's name, I could do a little work on that and come back with strategies to confront those and deal with them. All right, because I'm betting dollars to donuts that those lists are not going to be unique. There are going to be many, many common threads there. All right, it's important. It is really, really important if you want to have the success that brings you to join this little community of ours, that we face the truth about ourselves. All right? We all have flaws. And sometimes those flaws are going to be with us forever. It doesn't mean we have to pay the full price every time for that flaw. We can get some influence over it. We can see it coming. We can develop skills and strategies. But when we don't accept the truth about ourselves, then we better run pretty fast and hide from it. And guess what is a really great strategy for running fast and hiding from it? The dreaded P, procrastination. I won't think about that right now. I won't. And as soon as you get into that deflect, delay, that then becomes like a boulder. That thing that you are running away from, you are distracting, you are denying, you are defending, is like, just take a boulder and put it in a backpack on your back. You're carrying it. You carry it with you forever. All right? Rather than unpack the backpack, acknowledge the flaw. Sometimes there's humor in the flaw. All right? Sometimes there's, once you aren't afraid of it anymore, you can see some humor in some of the flaws we have. All right? Some of our flaws, and when they show themselves, sometimes make us very lovable and very humble and very agreeable to other people, because it reassures others that we too are imperfect, and they don't have to be perfect. Makes us good friends. All right? Makes us very good friends. All right. But you can see then when you hide from it, you run from it, you deflect, you deny. You can see that procrastination can be a choice that provides a form of protection. Can you see that? So for heaven's sake, stop being afraid of procrastination. Grab a hold of it, rip it open, let's have a look at it. We need other options. We need other options, and they are right there in front of us. Now, one of the additional things that happens, and this can make people really, really sick, all right? Really sick. Along with procrastination, there's a trap. And not everybody falls into it. People either beat themselves up or they aspire for more. But they aspire for more in an absolute way. Nothing short of perfect is good enough. Right? It's the perfectionistic trap. So, in an effort, when people are running from the truth of themselves, I have that flaw, when that happens, I'm more likely to go there first, but I'm not going to go all the way there. I'm going to catch myself because I am self-aware. When I feel it, when I think it, that's one of the reasons I talk out loud to myself, is because when I hear it, I go, yeah, really? How can that be true? No, come on. All right. When it's just rolling around in my head, it's like it doesn't quite belong to me. It's sort of like a radio wave. Oh, I wonder where that thought came from. But when I can hear it with another sense, try it. I would not advise trying it on a bus, however, or in a crowded room. All right. They'll come for you with the self-hugging shirt. All right. So the perfectionistic trap. All right. In an effort, when people aspire to perfectionism, what you're actually trying to do, all right? And it's impossible. It's impossible to get there and stay there. It's like a big lie that you're buying on for. It's an effort to prove that you're good enough. You're already good enough. If you're here trying to learn, trying to try different things to see whether little by little they'll help you take the steps you want to forward in the direction you want to go, you're already good enough. All right? You don't have to be any better. You might have to be more experienced or more skilled in a strategy. Because what it sets you up for is to attempt the impossible. It is impossible to create something that is perfect and expect it to endure for any length of time at all. All right? See it? It's not perfect anymore. You believe that you should be up to the highest standards, the highest goals. And what does that mean? That means goals and standards that are above criticism, above comment. All right? You demand of yourself things that are unrealistic. It's like a big lie. It's like when a salesman gives you a sales pitch, all right, and you buy it, and you take that thing home and it doesn't work that way at all. Please, anytime you notice that about yourself, put yourself on pause and say, okay, we're not buying on for that. What is the goal? And I will try to accomplish a part of that. And then I will stop and I will assess, is it good enough? Or is there more that I want to do? Not that I have to do, not that I should do. All right? Even when things work out ideally, even then, all right, there's a terrible stress and feelings of overwhelmness and uncertainty that you live with in the meantime until you get to that point where you're so happy, you're so proud of this perfect outcome that isn't going to last very long. All right. And you become that appetite, that seeing it for that very brief time is like, yes, it is reachable. And then you do the next step in perfectionism. You commit to the pursuit of perfection. Had it once. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. And you make a commitment to it. All right. The problem is that if you're reaching and fully expecting that perfectionism, even if you use another word, you can put another word in there, all right? Because we all know perfectionism is not a great thing, right? So whatever word you're using for it, it means the same thing. You know it because you get that buzz, right? All right. So what it means is it's setting you up not to be able to meet your goals or your deadlines. All right? Because the flood of effort and focus and energy and commitment and whatever is necessary is on this thing. What about all the other things? All right. What about all the other things? Can you be surprised you've got clutter? Can you be surprised you've got clutter? All right. All right. But because you become committed to that buzz, that hit from, oh, it's just perfect. You doggedly believe that you should be able to repeat that. And you refuse to learn. You refuse to learn from the parts that don't get done. All right? When you wear yourself out, all right, because you won't always have that much energy. You won't always have that much focus. You won't always have the liberty to be able to put that much effort into this thing that you want to be perfect. Okay, can you be surprised when you start to procrastinate? Can you be surprised when you start to tell yourself that it's unacceptable and so are you for allowing that? Perfectionism sooner or later, all right, is going to empty the bucket, and then you're going to be beating a hasty retreat. It will bring you down like a stone. It will empty you. All right? So, procrastination, just so you know, comes in two types. All right? Remember we said adaptive. It's not procrastination, sorry. It's perfectionism. Comes in two types. Adaptive and maladaptive. All right? So I want you to go back to last week's podcast and just review what the difference is between adaptive and maladaptive. All right? Okay. So one of the other things I want to announce today and get some feedback from you folks is I am starting 3 hoarding support groups online. All right, they're going to be on Zoom. The Hoarding Level 1 support group will be running on Tuesdays, starting the 24th of May until the 30th of August. And it's running on alternate Tuesdays from 2:30 to 3:30 Eastern Time. There are 8 sessions, all right? 8 sessions. And I've done this hoarding support group many times. I haven't, and I've done it online. What I haven't done online that I'm going to try this time, I have done it this way, but I did it in person twice, is that each person who joins the Hoarding Level 1 support group, online support group, can bring one clutter buddy of their choosing free. All right, they pay for their spot. Because it goes on for so long, it's $395.50, which includes all the taxes that we Canadians have to pay. You get a free book, a print copy book of Conquer the Clutter, so long as you're willing to pay the postage. I will give you the book free, but you need to pay the postage on it. And the Clutter Buddy attends with you free of charge. All right, there's no charge for your Clutter Buddy. Here's the thing about the Clutter Buddy, though. The Clutter Buddy has to commit to three things. The first thing is that they will attend all sessions, with the exception perhaps of the last session, which is a wrap-up. By that time, we should have been through everything. So if they have to miss one, that would be the one. The second thing they're committing to is that they are the person. They may not, push their sleeves up and help you physically. That's up to them. That's up to you primarily. All right, that's not part of it necessarily, but they are the person that when you want to celebrate something, or when you're discouraged and you need support between the sessions, they are the person who commit to being there for you. All right. And they commit to reinforcing and supporting you from the information and the strategies that they learn in the group, not their own personal opinions. All right? Personal opinions and strategies are not welcome. I want everybody working from the same playbook. That way I can be sure that nobody is trying to pressure you or meet their agenda. All right? And the third thing is, what was the third thing for Clutter Buddies? Sorry, can't remember. I'll remember it later. Imperfect memory. Okay. The second hoarding support group that I'm starting is for those people who have been part of Hoarding Level 1 online in the past and Hoarding Level 2. The Hoarding Level 3 support group is 10 sessions. It runs alternate Fridays, starting the 27th of May, going to the 16th of September. And it runs from 10:30 in the morning till 11:30-ish. There will be times when we run over, I know it, because I won't cut the discussion off. It probably will never last beyond noon, though, all right? Just in case people want to start planning things. What I'm trying to do there, I have to figure out, with Braden's help, how to provide each of you an audiobook version without giving you the audio file, all right? So we have to figure that one out. But for sure, I will give you access to the free Tools and Resources website, the interactive website, in the meantime. And the cost for that is $425, taxes included. Okay, there are limited spots. These aren't 50-person groups. These are like probably no more than 12 to 15 people in each group. All right. The third group, I've wanted to do this for a long time, and so I've decided I'm just going to jump off the deep end. It's a family support group for family, loved ones, best friends, whoever. And it is a 4-session group. It runs every Saturday from June 4th to June 25th, from 2:30 to 3:30. Again, a book is included. A print copy book is included if you pay the postage to wherever you live. And the cost for that is $260 per person. All right, so I just wanted to announce that now. You're going to see those promos on, well, Braden's going to take care of that. Okay, it'll be on Twitter, it'll be on Instagram, it'll be postings on Facebook, it'll be on YouTube, it'll be on, what's the other one? Google. So if you didn't get all the information down and you're interested, you can email me. um, or you can look for it online. Okay? All right. We have some comments in chat. Let's open it up. Okay, where are we? So, yes, Denise, it can be about being safe. That's right. Procrastination is like a safety option. You're absolutely right. The problem is, though, as much as it does keep you safe, it also keeps you unsafe in the long term, because procrastination is a little like water. It spreads and it ruins whatever it comes in contact with because it doesn't get addressed. And some things don't get better on their own, they actually get worse. It's always better to bite off a piece of the truth, all right? Not the whole hog necessarily, but a piece of the truth. Chew on it and start to face the truth, whatever that truth is for you. That is always better. And sometimes you need to mitigate it by doing it a little bit at a time. So you're procrastinating and you have an opening and you have a look, and then you catch your breath and you rest and you get ready and you look at it again. But sooner or later, I would really encourage you, even though it does feel safe quite often to procrastinate, it's the beliefs, fears, and messages that you've received that are the punishing thing. That's the thing you're really protecting yourself against. But you're living with those. Those things are already on the inside of that closed door. All right? Each time, open it a little wider and a little wider and a little wider by digging a little deeper on something. When it gets scary or painful or overwhelming, take a rest. All right? Don't close the door again, though, and go into full throttle procrastination, delay, distract, deny. Okay. Yes, Carrie, feelings of not being heard and or of rejection. Also having success with what worked in the past. That's not bad. You know what? Even as a starting point, being willing to remind yourself about what did work in the past is a great place to start, to make yourself brave enough to try something new. Okay, excellent sound today. Oh, great. Alina, yes, a podcast is being, a podcast on being judged. Okay, all right, we will. Someone said yes to disorganization. All right. If you've struggled with that for a long time, I want to ask you, have you ever had any feedback, or have you ever heard something or read something that made you wonder if you had ADD or ADHD? Okay, because feelings of disorganization and chaos and distraction, inattention, are very, very prominent if you're anywhere on that continuum. And you don't have to have ADD and AD or ADHD very severely, all right? If you happen to be in a vulnerable state and you're even like way downstream of a severe case, you can exacerbate those behaviors and those ways to kind of interfere with your own progress. All right, so there are lots and lots and lots of good strategies on ADD and ADHD. Go back in the podcasts that are in the webcast recording library on hoarding.ca and listen to them. And I'm going to be doing new ones and expanding on it as well. And it certainly is something we're going to be handling in the Hoarding Level 1 and Hoarding Level 3 support group. All right? Okay. Carry to everyone, I seem to have too many baskets and containers, but they aren't used adequately. So maybe, Carrie, a little homework for you is, again, 2 columns. Okay, give the baskets names so that they're identified. You can number them, you can give them quality, whatever they are. Okay, item, that's that column. Item, baskets, and containers. Okay, other item, other column. Intent. What did you intend these for? All right. When you got that basket or that container, what was your intention for that? How did it work out? Third column, outcome. The outcome column is, and how's it working for you? All right. Because there are a number of options. One option might be, can you use those containers or baskets for something else? Legitimately. Okay, I'm talking about, yeah, that really would work. Okay, great, yay, solution solved. Where are you going to put the baskets? However, that's the other option. Or the next option is it time to let it go? Sometimes things don't work, even though we planned that they would be the answer. Sometimes they don't. There's a point at which we have to accept it's time to move on. It's time to let the thing go if it didn't turn out the way it did. Or give it another use. All right? Good. The committee. Yeah, the committee. Critical parent, Alina. Yes. You know, one of the things, people should only be allowed to have children if they learn the skill of not telling the child what they did wrong, okay, in a punishing way, but instead tell them what's expected, how they could get it right. All right, and then you know what? If it's worth correcting the child, put a little time and backbone into helping them have an experience of how to do that. Even one trial run with a parent guiding them or helping them and encouraging them. Wow, the difference that could make in people's lives. Nora, the feeling preceded the clutter for sure. And when you defeat yourself, you ever notice that the clutter builds up faster? All right. If you're at a point where you're starting or you're getting back on the horse, one of the things, you know, we talked about the 15 minutes a day. One of the things I would really, really, really encourage you to do is, as much as humanly possible, don't leave anything from today to become tomorrow's job. So when you open packaging, it goes where it goes. And if you don't have the energy to recycle it, it goes anyway. It goes in the way that you can manage it. All right? Dishes. I don't believe like the Fly Lady. She's got many great ideas, but I don't believe like the Fly Lady does. I think that when you're overwhelmed, every room needs a drop zone. All right, but the drop zone is a restricted, confined, identifiable, limited space. So if it's an armchair in your bedroom and you take your clothes off because you're not good at hanging them up and you put them over the chair, okay, as soon as they start getting anywhere near the floor, it's D-Day, it's due day, okay? This is when you do it. The kitchen sink, you know, it's like making your bed, right? I think it's more important to air a bed than to make a bed. Like, really, you're getting back into it. It's entirely a personal choice. So let's not get ourselves hung up on, you know, what we couldn't go out Saturday morning if we didn't do. We're adults, for heaven's sakes. We make our choices, right? We live with them. Okay. I encourage people in the sink. Now, if you've got a double sink, all right, leave one sink side for use, and scrape and stack your dishes and cutlery and whatever and put them in the other side of the sink. That's true also if you only have one sink, but it can get a little bit difficult if you need to be washing things in the sink if things are stacked. But when that sink is full, it's D-Day. Ask yourself, which would you rather do? Would you rather do a few dishes more regularly? Or would you rather wait till you have a stack of dishes in a sink that's full? And by the way, under no circumstances do we lie to ourselves by putting the plug in the sink with hot soapy water and putting the dishes in the hot soapy water and we can do that. We can do that. But no lies to ourselves that they're soaking and I'll get back to it. If you have the experience of going back to the sink and you're thinking, I don't want to put my hands in that, it's no longer hot and it's looking kind of scummy. All right, you're lying to yourself. Whatever you do, tell yourself the best truth you can about it and deal with the consequences of that choice. And when you're deciding which option to pick, I always go for, do I want to pay that consequence? And if I don't want to pay that consequence, there's only one choice, Elaine. You do it now. It never gets easier. Okay? Okay. Always, always, always deal with the truth. Okay. Where are we here now? Yep, to all of the above. Um, Thank you, Tammy. She says, I love the gentleness of your reminders to us. Yes. You got to be kind to yourself. You know what? You've got to be kind to yourself. But you also have to tell yourself the truth. Truth is kindness because it doesn't let you lie to yourself and get yourself in it over your hip waders. Okay? All right. A critical parent is on my committee, even though he died years ago. You know, Sarah, we're going to do a podcast um, where we talk to critical parents and we talk to critical others that are no longer with us. Or sometimes they are with us, but they're not part of our life. There are strategies to deal with, well, to help us deal with that. Maybe I need to do a podcast on that. All right? How to quiet the bullies. I'm trying to be more authentic, kinder to myself and others. Carrie, I would have a very hard time believing you could be kinder to others. After all the comments you've made, that just seems like, okay. Is that perfectionistic thinking, Carrie? Because that I'd like to see. To yourself, for sure. Okay. Suzanne, I'm the same, Carrie. Yes, Suzanne, I have a hard time getting rid of the baskets. I'm keeping empty containers now because I don't know if I will need them when I'm done, as I will reorganize things then. You know, one of the things about the containers, the boxes, for instance, if you're going to keep boxes, for heaven's sakes, break them down. Splurge. Buy yourself a tape, a roll or two of really great packing tape, and break those boxes down, fold them up, and keep no more than 6, 10 in a space where you don't have to live. All right? Okay. Because if they take up space that's needed for something else, so that you can keep them at hand, guess what you're going to create? Another pile. The pile will create behind it.
I'm talking about plastic containers.
Okay. Well, so same thing. You know what though with plastic containers, um, fold them into, not fold them, but stack them into each other. But
Yeah.
at a certain point, it's limited, right?
Yeah.
What you can do though, and I do this with some people that I know, is I will know I've got those containers, but I will lend them to them in the meantime.
Mm,
All right. And then can I get them back when I
mm.
need? Okay. That's okay. Um, Almost ready to have outside help to sort things and get help to and get them out. The flaws won't be hidden then. I'm terrified. Well, if you pick the right person, Cindy, um, Cindy, if there is somebody who would be free of charge for you, all right, and you trust them, and they're not opinionated and they're not bossy boots, all right, they're not full of themselves, um, why don't you think about taking the hoarding level 1 support group and getting your buddy in there for free and making a plan? Because if you're going to pay somebody, it's going to cost you a lot more than that group by the time you get it done. It's just something to consider, okay? Okay. Negative words from others, okay, like a haven, yes it is. Yeah. Tammy says, it reminds me of the old movie The Mission, carrying those flaws in a backpack. Attachment issues with so many things overwhelming. Okay, we're going to have to run for autism. Autism being anywhere on the autism spectrum disorder, Asperger's, and you don't have to be a certified, tick every box example of it. Um, all I'm saying is know yourself. Whatever resonates with you, nobody knows you better than you know yourself. But tell yourself the truth. All right? You don't have to take a poster out and put it on your front lawn. Know the truth about yourself, accept it, love it, and then let's find a way to not pay the negative consequences that challenge might mean. Or in the case of Asperger's, in the case of ADD, in the case of ADHD, even sometimes OCD, if you can get a handle on it, there's an upside. There is also the brighter side of that, how to use that capability. All right? Whatever it is, accept and love yourself, even if you're not happy with where you are right now. All right? You're here, you're learning, you're trying, and I'm betting inch by inch in small ways. I'm hoping that this helps you do better so that you can be more pleased with yourself, more peaceful and kind to yourself. You take care, and I will see you next week. Take care, everybody. Have a great week, and do your homework.